Eyes Wide Shut isn't a film you sit down with popcorn, watch once, and leave feeling entertained. Don't be distracted by the Christmas lights or the costumes. It's a story filled with intrigue, mystery, and questions still debated today. One question this video poses is, who was the villain to Tom Cruise's Bill Harford as the hero? In this video, I'm going to name some candidates, and this is where I say, the alternative theories mentioned within may cause anxiety, rage, or disbelief, but that's why you're here, I hope. Consider leaving a like, share, or subscribe if you enjoy this video. Now let's get this party started. The Red Cloak. The Red Cloak leads his secret society with unquestioned authority, backed with money, power, and influence, helped with easy access to gratification. He appears like a comic book villain, complete with a mask, and he doesn't hesitate to taunt others who threaten his empire. The Red Cloak openly, in front of his society, confronts Bill. This was his effort to antagonize or otherwise thwart Bill's adventure to experience the smarmy underbelly of physical pleasures. With merely his voice and his mob, the Red Cloak had Bill remove his mask, revealing his mortal identity. This is metaphorically dressing Bill down to his bareness, leaving him vulnerable. Bill is isolated, forced to show himself as a man sneaking in for a little peep show and failing at it. The Red Cloak threatens Bill out in the open, calls for and gets a human sacrifice, and sends Bill away, dispatching him like a common serf, a nobody, a leave-behind. Bill is followed by a shadowy gentleman. A strange man in a strange trench coat trails Bill. Is this just a coincidence, or insurance that Bill learns little and speaks less? We are given clues that Nick Nightingale's express checkout and Mandy's demise were possibly at the hands of nefarious means. As a villain, the Red Cloak is elusive. We don't see him until nearly the 1 hour 13-minute mark. He's in one scene, making appearances in 2 different moments. A villain would be part of the final act, the final confrontation, where the story reaches its climax. However, after making a great entrance, the Red Cloak disappears from the story. If we choose to believe he was responsible for Nick and Mandy, we learn after the fact. Like the Red Cloak's introduction at the party, his appearance came and went just as quickly. Victor Ziegler. Examining the character of Victor Ziegler, we see him early and late. He is Bill's benefactor, and not just in a doctor-patient relationship. I have discussed in other videos where the protagonist and a wealthy benefactor meet early. The benefactor leads the hero astray with the help of greed, and finally reveals himself as the villain all along. Our hero's quest for knowledge or truth comes to an end. What do we see in Victor early? His wealth can afford opulence that is almost surreal. He's a little short on morals. And when a secret is unexpectedly revealed due to circumstance, he makes a one-sided deal that benefits his discretion. And Mandy seems to be around somewhere. What do we see in Victor late? He's in his private billiard room with Bill. This is the confrontation. The struggle is over ideas, not fists. On the surface, Victor is making himself Bill's mentor. What he is really doing is not letting Bill come up with his own conclusions. Victor is fighting him, antagonizing him. Victor tries a variety of tactics, from gifting to fear-mongering to reassurance. Bill walks in with pieces of the truth picked up on his journey. Like a villain, Victor puts Bill's journey for knowledge and truth to a conclusion. There is a subtle foreshadow how Victor impedes Bill's immediate plans for his own gain. Bill attends a party reserved for the rich and influential, peppered with attractive women. When he's about to enjoy the gathering, Victor's servant calls him away. Bill's opportunity for emotional release is lost, and we see Mandy plan to be taken away quietly from Victor's presence. While it looks coincidental or incidental, the truth is Victor is playing the part of reprioritizing Bill's plans and ideas. If Victor was the villain, was he an accidental one? If we take him at his word, he was just a participant at the invite of the Red Cloak, just one member of many. If we take him at his word, Mandy's OD was an accident, and Bill's intervention was unplanned. It was Nick who tempted Bill with a super-secret society, but it came after Bill's flirtation with two party guests, and a private insight into how the uber-rich parties upstairs. Bill got a taste of the libations, the liberations, and he wanted in. If we take Victor at his word, all the drama, like Nick's disappearance, was theater. Manny's demise was tragic but accidental and anticipated. Not much for a villain. This would make Victor more of a mentor and a messenger, wouldn't it? A very persuasive one, since he tried to hypnotize Bill like someone dangling an object in front of him. Victor wanted to sell a better truth that is easier to live with than a harsh one. Bill Harford versus the world. Man versus nature is another conflict matchup where our protagonist is fighting the environment around him. It could be society, nature, or the machine. Here we see Bill being pulled or pushed into a world and way of life that is morally ambiguous or even flat out wrong. We are introduced to the banality he's accustomed to before being drawn into a world that has no limitations. He finds more in common with his old schoolmate, medical student turned musician, than the patient Victor Ziegler. Bill is first numb to moral ambiguity, all in the name of medicine and doctor-patient discretion. He has no issue being under the influence of herbal inhalants on his own time. However, when sought-after psychophysical payoffs don't pay off, he becomes a different man. We don't know what would have happened if two model-type young women had made their way with Bill. We do know the late night with the wife wasn't as high and inspiring as it reads on the label. Morality, ethics, or simply Bill's state of sobriety begins to jar. Most inappropriate moments of melodrama begin to appear out of nowhere. Moments of temptation make its subtle offering before Bill is in the palm of a new, uninhibited world, but it will not embrace him. Then he is cast out. He leaves Domino, but she is out of reach literally in more than one way when he returns for her. Bill is denied a second chance reuniting with Marion when her husband answers the phone. After being cast out of Eden, he returns to the gates, but is denied again. After several rejections, Bill begins to see the ugliness in a world he envied. He is in the shadows of sickness, violence, and death. Even his ideas of truth, of what had transpired, is incompatible with his world. Did Bill walk out on his own, or was he pushed out of this mysterious place? Nick shared with Bill a kind of world he could be a part of. Victor, on the other hand, lectured how he could not. This was Bill's struggle. Where did he feel he belonged? Bill is the villain. This is the alternative theory you've been waiting for. We should remember that the world we see is not our world. It is one Stanley Kubrick created. It has its own rules, like how New York streets would look like. For this very alternative theory to work, we have to turn the in-film universe on its head. The elite are powerful. They have their own laws, enforce their own rules and their ways. Most of the lower tiers don't realize they are subjugated. Their only hope to peek into a better life is through illicit and most questionable means. Even medical doctors live modestly. This is what makes Bill the antagonist. He is the one who tried to crash a party he wasn't invited to and not qualified for. Bill bribes a business owner after hours, overlooking certain qualities played out in front of him, as long as he gets what he wants. But in how Bill dresses like the secret society, he really mocked them, not because he thought he could act among the crowd, but how he arrived in a cab. Bill's plan was foiled before he stepped foot inside. Another trait of a villain is in their plans and deception. Bill's clandestine game not only threatens the life of the party, but the livelihood of the secret society and its members. Only through the grand wisdom of the Red Cloak does the status quo survive. Of course, it meant a few sacrifices and hiring reconnaissance and intelligence staff to make sure Bill the outcast remains quiet. Another trait of a villain is the price to society for their selfishness. Many villains, after their scheme fails, are escorted into isolation or pacification. Call it prison, psychiatric ward, or exile. It is punishment just the same for a crime of being a nonconformist. Who escorts Bill to exile? Victor Ziegler. In this universe, Ziegler is a successful man, a good and generous one. He shows the light of truth and most of all mercy. In most stories, that is the trait of a hero. As for villains, the mark of defeat is returning to the world they wanted to escape from. Let me know in the comments below, who do you think was the villain in Eyes Wide Shut? This is Mr. G of Synergy saying, early checkout isn't always painless. Check out other videos on the channel. Thanks for watching.